morning. It's good to be able to join you on this broadcast. My name's Boniface and I'm delighted to come to your space this morning to be able to inspire you, to be able to challenge you on a few thoughts that can upgrade, improve, and allow your life to go to the next level. We all know that when this year began, we had a lot of expectations. We had a lot of hopes for the future. There were a lot of dreams and a lot of goals that were written down. But all of a sudden, COVID came and we were thrust into a space of confusion. Everyone was running helter-skelter, wondering how do we deal with such a difficult transition as this. You know, one of the things about life that I want you to realize, as you live your life, you have to realize that when trouble comes, it doesn't give you a forewarning. It just comes without warning. And when trouble comes, you have two options. You can either take a victim's mentality or embrace a victor's mindset. And so today, I want to challenge you and just give you a few thoughts on a few things that you can do to jumpstart your life, irregardless of where COVID has taken you. You may have been through seasons where you've lost your business, you've lost even a career, you've lost your job, but I want you to realize that you have what it takes to make a comeback. And so in the few moments that we are going to be sharing together, I am going to be taking you through some nuggets and some wisdom that can help you to jumpstart your life. One of the things that I love is just to go to the garage and see how mechanics work on vehicles. And one time I happened to be on a certain road and a certain vehicle had stalled on that road. And I remember the driver that was driving that vehicle trying to stop other drivers so that they can come and help jumpstart his car. But everybody, like Kenyans would do ordinarily, they were just passing by and passing by. But another guy came and stopped and was able to just help this guy to jumpstart his car. And the process of jumpstarting a car is simple, is introducing an external source of power so that the battery of the vehicle that had stalled because it was dead is able to be revived and reawakened and to be able to function again. And so what I want to do today is to be that jumpstarter in your life. I want to be able to bring you some information, some wisdom that will be able to help you to jumpstart your life. So this morning our discussion will center around what makes us victims in life. When we go through life, we don't have a choice about what we go through, but we do have a choice about how we go through it. And today, one of the choices that you must make in your life that shows that you are responsible for your destiny, that shows that you have taken charge of your destiny, is making the decision to be able to step on the steering wheel of your life and decide, I am not going to be a victim. There is a victor in me, there is a conqueror in me, and I am not going to settle down for anything less than the best that life has to offer. Let me tell you 4 things you must never do when you find yourself in a crisis. And these are temptations that you will always find, that when you go through a difficult time, these are things you will be tempted to do. But if you're going to overcome a crisis, if you're going to rise above a crisis, if you're going to be able to jumpstart your life from a place of crisis to a place of creating and moving forward, one of the things you must do is that, number 1, you must learn not to be a complainer. When trouble comes, you're given a choice. You will either complain about the difficulty that is facing you, or you will find a way to create a solution. The same energy you spend complaining is the same energy that you can use to create a new possibility that can activate a new vision and a new future for you. I find it ironic that many times, instead of sitting down and asking ourselves, how can we solve the problem at hand, the temptation usually is to complain. The temptation usually is to begin to grumble and to begin to talk about how bad things are. The energy that you spend talking about how bad things are is the same energy you can use to make them better than they are. Unfortunately, I would like to say to you today that complaining is misdirecting your energy. Anytime you find yourself complaining, you are directing your energy to the wrong focus. And what we do know from living and from experience and from studies is that when a crisis comes, it drains you. The little energy that is left cannot be now misappropriated and be used in complaining. Anytime you complain, you empower your crisis to overwhelm you even more. Anytime you complain, you empower the situation that you're going through to become harder. And things are already hard. Don't make them harder by complaining. Let me challenge you today that as you go through life, decide you are not going to be a complainer. Instead of looking for something to complain about, look for something to be grateful about. There's a good English proverb that says, behind every dark cloud there is a silver lining. That means behind every crisis, behind every difficulty, there is something positive that you can get out of it, but you will not get the positive that is inside your crisis if you're busy complaining about your crisis. Number one thing, if you're not going to be reduced to a victim by your crisis, you've got to decide, I am not going to complain, I am going to create. The distance between your problem and your solution is the ability to stop complaining and start creating. Many times we find in history that some of the wealthiest people became wealthy during a crisis. They became wealthy during a pandemic. I was reading the news the other day and I was surprised to realize that Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO of Amazon and the guy who runs Amazon, was able to make a ton of money when everybody was complaining that COVID has affected the economies of the world. The economy in your life does not need to be affected by the crisis around you if you're going to use that crisis as an opportunity to create. Anytime you complain, you compound the challenges around you. You make it more difficult for you to overcome the challenge that you're going through. So don't be a complainer, become a creator. Make the transition from complaining to creating. Number two, you are not just supposed to stop complaining, but number two, stop being negative. Negativity is the fastest way to nothingness. If you're going to go from nothing to something, you've got to go from negativity to positivity. The attitude in your mind is not determined by the environment you find yourself in. The attitude in your mind is your choice. A wise man once said that men can decide their destinies by choosing the attitudes in their minds. The problem with many of us is that we allow what we go through to determine how we think. You are not a function of what you go through. You are not a byproduct of the challenges that you're going through. You can decide to think differently. The difference between a winner and a loser is not that a winner has any advantage over a loser other than the winner chooses to think differently. How differently are you thinking about the challenges that you're going through? How differently are you looking at your financial situation? How differently are you looking at your job situation? How differently are you looking at your business situation? Anytime you operate in negativity, you suffocate your creativity. Creativity is a seed that cannot grow in the soil of a negative mind and a negative heart. I want to challenge you today that if you're going to make lemons, if you're going to take the lemons that life has given you and turn them into lemonade, one of the things that you've got to do is uproot negativity from your mind. Negativity does not go by itself. You change your negative mindset by feeding yourself with positive thoughts. What are some of the books you're reading? What are some of the programs you're watching? What are some of the things you are exposing yourself to? Are they making you bitter or are they making you better? Your attitude is your choice. You do not need to go through life being negative. There is enough negativity in life. Don't make your life harder by embracing a negative disposition. By the way, there is nobody who is ever rewarded for being negative, because when you're negative, you even become a nuisance to the people that are in your life. Why not change and trade your negativity and decide, I am not going to be negative. I am going to be optimistic. I am going to be enthusiastic. I am going to be upbeat. I am going to be that person that radiates with energy, that when any person comes around me, they feel life. They feel a robust faith and a hopefulness that cannot be challenged. Let me challenge you. Do not just live your life complaining or living in negativity. Rise above the negatives that you're going through and decide that in the middle of the negative circumstances, I am going to have a positive attitude towards my future. The distance between a problem and a solution is the attitude in your mind. What attitude do you have in your mind? And let me go to the third thing very quickly because of time. You stop complaining, you stop having a negative mind, and then number 3, you stop having a troubled heart. What does it mean to have a troubled heart? Is to allow your life to be a container of anxiety and worry. Is to go through life allowing the things that you go through to dictate how you feel, to dictate how you approach life. And let me tell you something. Somebody has said something very wise that I love. Worry is like a rocking chair. It only makes you spend so much energy, but it doesn't take you anywhere. Do not allow your heart to be troubled. I like giving the analogy of a ship. For so long as a ship is on the water and the water doesn't get into the ship cannot sink. It is when what is outside the ship gets inside the ship that the ship begins to go down. The storms around you don't have to take you down. The storms around you don't have to make you anxious. The storms around you don't have to rubble you and make you feel like you've reached the end of the rope. There is no end of the rope. And when you are at the end of the rope, tie a knot and hold on to it. Don't give up hope. Don't give in to the difficulties that you're going through. Decide, my heart will not be troubled. One of the ways to allow your heart not to be troubled is to learn to speak to yourself. You are given your mouth so that you can change what is in your heart. You may wake up and feel like you have had a bad day waking up, but you can use your mouth and say, this is a beautiful day. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to make the most out of it. Your words are tools for regulating the state of your heart. If your heart is troubled, you can move from a troubled heart to a triumphant heart by speaking the right words into your heart. Your mouth is a tool for changing what is going on in your heart. So don't have a troubled heart. I began by saying, don't complain. Your mouth controls your destiny. And then number 2, I say, don't have a negative attitude. What you think is your responsibility. Nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. You can decide, regardless of what life throws at me, I am going to take it and I am going to turn it for my good. I'm reminded of an interesting story that I had of a farmer that had had a very old donkey, and he decided, I'm tired of this donkey, I want to get rid of it. And so he went and he dug a very deep hole and he threw the donkey out inside that hole, and he decided, I'm going to bury my donkey. Guess what happened? He threw the donkey inside the hole, but every time he shoved in dirt inside that hole, the donkey would shake himself, the dirt would fall, and he would step on the dirt and he would rise higher. He decided, I am not going to be buried by people who think negative about me. I am going to use the stones that they throw at me to build a capacity to rise higher in life. Your attitude is your responsibility. And then number 3, we have said, do not have a troubled heart. Do not have a troubled heart. Then number 4, and lastly, do not have a passive stance in life. The best strategy to something that is positive and upbeat is to stop doing nothing. If you're always doing nothing, you will end up being nothing. A pessimistic person is somebody who is passive and they go through life doing nothing, yet expecting something to come out of their life. Somebody said that the only thing that you can succeed in by doing nothing is becoming mediocre. I want to challenge you. Don't sit there and do nothing. Don't sit there and complain about how difficult things are and be negative about how difficult things are and have a troubled heart. Decide you are going to do something about where you are. The first step out of trouble is to decide, I am going to do something about it. And let me challenge you today. You are not created to be a victim. You are created to be an overcomer. You are created to be a conqueror. But there are certain decisions you must take. There are certain dispositions you must take. And I've told you 4 things you must avoid. And I want to challenge you that as you begin this day, write on a piece of paper, I will not be a complainer. I will not be negative. I will not be troubled and I will not be passive. I will rise up and I will do something about my life. I do believe that those 4 things, if you do them, your life will begin to take shape. And like we said, the mechanic that came and plugged in the wires on that car that had stalled up was able to jumpstart it because he connected it to a powerful engine that was able to jumpstart it. Let me challenge you today to realize that if you're going to jumpstart your life, stop complaining, stop being negative, stop having a troubled heart, and stop sitting down and doing nothing. Rise up. Take charge of your destiny. You have what it takes to be the best you can be, but you have to step on the steering wheel of your life and start doing something with your life. I do hope that these 4 things have challenged you, and you will rise up and you will do something with them, and you will see your life taking shape, and you will see your destiny moving forward. We'll see you another time. This has been yours, Boniface, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your viewing.